All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and welcome to this afternoon's practice and qualifying coverage for the NASCAR Cup Series at Darlington Raceway for this year's running of the Goodyear 400. And as we bring to you today's, we have a full practice session awaiting, followed by single car qualifying, all to get this weekend's event underway. Our first of three live commentary streams this weekend, as we will have a double header for your Saturday afternoon of NASCAR coverage right here on KRC. Obviously beginning with this stream right now, and our Xfinity Series race coverage coming up at 3:30 p.m. Eastern later this afternoon. I did put the schedule up for this weekend start times in the community tab yesterday leading up to the start of this weekend's events. As far as we come into this weekend, you can take a look at the point standings, which is currently on screen. I was lacking a little bit behind on trying to get my notes prepared for this stream today. I was actually without power for about the first handful of hours since I've been up since just before 7 o'clock this morning. Didn't get the power back in my house until a little over an hour ago, so I don't have a lot to show for you guys graphics-wise today. Usually we would have, obviously, the scrolling Tron at the top of the screen. I had no internet connection. I couldn't get to anything. So luckily we were able to get this stream in because I was getting a bit nervous there as we were getting closer to 11:30 before the power came on Eastern time. Had some storms overnight. I'm not sure if that might have knocked it out. It was pretty much just out from about the time I woke up. So needless to say, though, we are here. I am safe and glad to meet everybody back again here for another NASCAR race weekend. As far as getting the streams uploaded to the YouTube channel so you can check out the chat and all that beforehand, I will obviously get the Xfinity and Cup Series race streams up as soon as I can as well. I was just able to get this one up last minute. And as far as the NASCAR Xfinity Series race goes later today, obviously still scheduled for 3:30 this afternoon. So waiting for NASCAR.com to update their live raw feed so we can know exactly what is going on as it's happening for NASCAR Cup Series practice. Because as of right now, obviously I'm on NASCAR.com and there is no word of that. And it is not raining at Darlington. They currently have cars on the racetrack. Clear weather for this weekend's event. In fact, very, very warm, despite it being early April. And obviously it is South Carolina. But 83 degrees air temperature later this afternoon for the Xfinity Series. Supposed to warm up even a little bit more, 87 degrees. So it's going to be hot and slick for this racetrack here today specifically. Similar temperatures for tomorrow during the Cup race as well. Can't wait for that. You got a hot, slick racetrack that usually leads to very good racing, and here at Darlington Raceway specifically, we tend to see very good racing on an annual basis. I'm sure the Xfinity Series is going to put on a great race today. That's been one of the better races of the NASCAR season the last few years whenever they go to this racetrack, and the Cup Series obviously as well is going to have a solid run. William Byron comes into this season with the current points lead. He is 16 points ahead of Kyle Larson, his teammate, who has closed the gap exponentially following a couple of good performances the last 2 weeks, obviously getting his first win of the season at the Homestead Miami Speedway 2 weeks ago. Last week, Larson outscored Byron by a lot in the points itself, moving him still in second place. Didn't move up or down the leaderboard in the actual point standings last week, but again, only 16 points back. He was over 30 points back before, so he's cut his deficit in more than half. Chase Elliott is minus 32, now up 3 spots in points after last week's top 5 at Martinsville Speedway, coming off a 4th place run, is 3rd in the standings. Christopher Bell is in 4th, tied for 4th with that of the other Hendrick Motorsports Chevy of Alex Bowman, who's down a couple of spots after a down week at Martinsville as well last weekend. Denny Hamlin got his first win of the season. He's locked into the playoffs now. He is 6th in points. Tyler Reddick is 7th. Bubba Wallace 8th, so both 2311 Toyotas off to a solid. Then you got the Fords of Logano, Blaney, Buscher, 9th, 10th, 11th. Chase Briscoe is 12th in points, and as we get closer to the playoff bubble, Raj Chastain 13th, where he was for most of last season. Missed it because he didn't get a win, so that can be crucial as we get into the summer months. Ryan Preece is 14th. Great start to the season for him with his new ride at RFK Racing. Michael McDowell 15th, Kyle Busch 16th, and you got Jonathan Nemechek at 17th, AJ Allmendinger 18th, Josh Berry is 19th, but remember, does have a win, so he is locked into the playoffs. And he was up in the top 12 in points, actually lost 7 spots just in one race alone, so it just goes to show how tight the point standings are. Obviously this early in the season, but especially in the middle of the point standings right around that playoff cut line. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is 20th, and you got Daniel Suarez 21st, Todd Gilliland 22nd, Zane Smith comes into this weekend 23rd in points. Austin Cindric 24th, but had the 50-point penalty for right hooking Ty Dillon at Coda several weeks back. Ty Dillon is just behind him in 25th, and Justin Haley 26th, Eric Jones Austin Dillon 27th, Carson Hocevar 28th. Eric Jones down 9 spots. He was actually disqualified at Martinsville last week, so he did lose quite a few points from what he would have had otherwise. He would have ended up finishing in 24th. That's a loss of about 20 points with that penalty for him, not including stage points, which I don't think he had any, but even still, 20 points is 20 points. Brad Keselowski is 30th, still in search for his first top 10 of the year. Ty Gibbs had a pretty solid run going for the most part last week, ended up with a top 15, but not a top 10, scored some stage points. He's 31st, gained 3 spots in the standings. Then Noah Gragson 32nd, Riley Herbst 33rd, Shane Van Gisbergen 34th, and last of all the drivers who have ran every race so far this season, Cole Custer, Cody Ware 35th, 37th. Oddly enough, Jimmy Johnson's actually tied with Cody Ware in points despite only running the Daytona 500. Remember, he had that 3rd place finish to start the season. We'll see Jimmy back for the Coke 600 weekend at the end of May. But as for this weekend, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live and welcome to this. I hear myself in my ear. There we go. As this weekend, though, progresses, this will be the 8th race of the NASCAR season. Still waiting to get the raw feed up and running on NASCAR.com. I've got nothing to show you guys visually for what is going on right now. I'm still not able to get into the Amazon Prime Video like the last couple of weeks, so we're kind of freelancing the practice side of things. But appreciate everybody tuning in as of right now. I don't see anybody in the chat yet, but thanks for watching, because there are people here, needless to say. We can go a little more in depth with how the statistical performances has been for specific drivers in specific statistical categories. I mentioned already William Byron. Obviously, he is currently leading the point standings. 15 playoff points does go to the regular season champion. 1 win apiece for Byron Larson at the top of the leaderboard. Obviously, Bell has the most wins with 3, having those 3 consecutive, ranging between races 2 through 4 to begin the season. Denny Hamlin got his first win last week at Martinsville. So as of right now, 5 different drivers have a win on the year. I mentioned already Josh Berry, his first career win at Las Vegas earlier in the season. And race number 4 are the 5 drivers locked into the playoffs as of right now. So 11 spots are still open there. Most top 10s on the season, it was Alex Bowman all alone, but then Kyle Larson, after getting another top 10 at Martinsville last week, has tied him for the most at 5 apiece. Just behind them with 4 is Chase Elliott after last week's top 5 at Martinsville. Christopher Bell got his 4th top 10 of the season, and William Byron, who finished outside the top 10, still sitting at 4 as well. As far as laps led on the season goes, Joey Logano still has led the most, 260 laps led going into last week. But now this week, Denny Hamlin has taken over. Over 200 laps led for Hamlin last weekend alone at Martinsville has put him to the top of the leaderboard there. 298 laps led for Hamlin, so Logano sits second on that side of things. No longer seen a Penske Ford lead in laps led for the first time this season. Took 7 races to knock off Logano in that statistical category. Austin Cindric still up there with 159 laps led as well. Ryan Blaney at 147. 139 for Christopher Bell would round out the top 5, again, for laps led on the year. Most DNFs so far this season. For those that are in the top portion of the standings, Ryan Blaney, 3 DNFs on the year, all consecutively. The 2 engine failures at Phoenix, and a couple of weeks ago, while having probably the fastest car in the race at Homestead Miami Speedway, also got in a wreck late at Las Vegas. He is still trying to rebound. Had a better performance at Martinsville last week, at least made it to the finish, but did not get a top 10. So still sitting at just the 2 at the very start of the season there, but still 10th in the point standings. He's got good speed every week. Not last week. I thought he would have a little bit more speed than what he did end up showing. Obviously, Blaney winning the last 2 fall races there, you would expect him to be a contender for the win, but was never really in the top 5 the entire race. So you don't want to see the speed go away when you have it early in the season like he had for several events, where you could have given an argument that if that engine would have made it to the end at Homestead, he probably would have been the favorite for the win. Vegas, he looked really quick, had a top 5 in the bag at the very least, and got in that wreck on a late race restart. So definitely ailing situations there for Ryan Blaney early in the season. Other statistical categories, we've got top fives on the year. Obviously, we went over the top tens. Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell are tied for top fives. Bell has finished first or second in every top five this year. Obviously, runner-up at Martinsville last week to Denny Hamlin. But obviously, getting the 3 wins would have been the other 3 top 5 finishes. So he's either competing for a win right near it. Obviously, last week didn't get the win, but the other 3 did, or he's just not finishing anywhere close to the front of the field, has been the season for Bell. And that's why he's 4th in points, despite the fact he's got that many wins so far. He's just not running up at the front from start to finish. He's not collecting a lot of stage points, and ultimately his race finishes have not been great outside of the 4 very, very strong performances early in the year. He finished well outside of that at Martinsville last week. Hamlin just got his 3rd top 5, would also be tied with Byron for 2nd most. But not that many drivers with more than 1 or 2 top 5 finishes this season, just those few that I just named. Chase Elliott just got his 2nd last weekend. Tyler Reddick finished just beyond that. Bubba Wallace has had back-to-back top 5 finishes at Homestead and Martinsville, so he's heating up. I have nothing for you on the leaderboard side of things. I don't know what's going on with NASCAR.com in the raw feed as of right now. Make sure my internet is connected. Yep. I've logged in and out of NASCAR.com several times. I want to see if the NASCAR app has anything. Definitely some technical issues there. And I really hope that we get that up and running again at some point in time. We're 13th. The live leaderboard is not working on NASCAR.com, but on the NASCAR mobile app, it is up and running. I tried logging out of NASCAR.com completely and logging back in, as you can see on screen. I'll go through the leaderboard, at least for what I have on my phone. Carson Hocevar does have the quickest time so far. The Group 2 drivers have not yet hit the racetrack, so only Group 1. And of Group 1, we have Carson Hocevar at the top of the leaderboard, just over a 1/10 of a second faster than Josh Berry, who has the 2nd fastest lap time. Eric Jones is 3rd, Austin Cindric 4th, Justin Haley rounds out the top 5. 6 is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Austin Dillon 7th, Brad Keselowski 8th, Daniel Suarez 9th, and Noah Gragson rounds out the top 10. John Hunter Nemechek at 11th, AJ Allmendinger in 12th, Cole Custer 13th, Alex Bowman 14th, Austin Hill in the field this weekend at 15th, running for RCR, his first start of the Cup Series season. Shane Van Gisbergen 16th, Riley Herbst 17th, Cody Ware 18th, and JJ Yaley, another open entry this weekend, of course, for New York Racing, is 19th. So those are the 19 drivers on track. We have a 38-car field this weekend with those 2 open entries that are both running in Group 1. A lot of the heavy hitters are going to be in Group 2 this weekend specifically. So not a lot of the drivers who you would typically see competing for race win week in and week out in the Cup Series in Group 1. We'll start to see those faster drivers maybe include themselves into the top portion of our practice leaderboard charts once we get into the second half of practice. 15 minutes, 13 seconds and counting have been completed, and the most laps ran so far at Darlington. Josh Berry, Carson Hocevar, about 22 laps a run for both of those 2 drivers. Well, I guess while we wait to get the leaderboard up and running, we'll highlight the Fantasy League for this weekend. And be sure to join our NASCAR Fantasy League on the NASCAR mobile app and or NASCAR.com website. It is free to join. You got a chance to win 2 tickets to any NASCAR race if you're choosing the following season, excluding the Daytona 500, if you win our league championship for both the regular season and or the playoffs. The points will reset for the postseason when we do get there. And as far as the regular season side of things go, we'll check out those regular season standings. And I believe I did lose the lead. That is not it. There we go. Nope, that ain't it either. Yep, I did lose the lead. Evan 48-48 now on top of the leaderboard by just 1 point. 1380. I didn't even realize that there was a chat in the league itself as well. I don't remember seeing that the first, 7 races we've had so far this season? I had no clue that that was a thing. That must be new, because I definitely don't remember that from the first couple years we've done this. Anyway, Evan 48-48 again, 1,380 points, a 1-point lead over me. Hercules Harrigan's up there as well yet again after winning the playoff championship a season ago. Is only 9 points out of first. Monster Jam X10, one of our champs from last season as well, 1334. P-Shat Motorsports rounds out the top 5 at 1324. So every week, for those of you that don't know and aren't in the league already, you pick 5 drivers. These were the drivers that were obviously in my team last week. 5 drivers start at the end of stage 2 that you'll get points for. You actually pick 6 every week. Your garage driver doesn't count as a start towards your top 5. So if somebody gets into an early incident, has mechanical troubles early on, or just isn't running up to par with the other drivers, you can sub them out. You can only use the same leaderboard, because I've taken William Byron 5 of the first 7 races so far this season. He's leading the points. He's scoring a lot every week. Last week he did not, but definitely going to have to keep an eye on that as we get later in the season, starting to use those usages up. Once the playoffs begin, I believe you can only use the same driver 5 times when everything resets, points included. So if you're not already in the league, again, be sure to join. Name of the league is KRC League, KRC in all caps, space capital L on league for your chance to win. So again, KRC League is where you'll want to join. Head-to-head picks every weekend. This week it'll be Joey Logano versus Ross Chastain, Denny Hamlin versus William Byron, Ty Gibbs versus Kyle Busch, Chase Elliott versus Bubba Wallace, and those are all 10 points per on the league standings side of things. All right, well, we've highlighted that. I've gone over the practice leaderboard charts, but again, there is nothing on NASCAR.com right now that indicates that their car is currently on track, which there is. I'm going to check on my phone if NASCAR.com has it. I mentioned already about the app being up and running. It's a little bit concerned because I wasn't sure if it was the internet issues that I was still maybe experiencing, but that can't be it. It seems like it's just for me. And I don't really know what to tell you. Chat's going to have to help me out to see if I can do anything to try to help this. But I've got nothing for the moment. Which is a big pain, because when we get into qualifying, if I have zero clue what's going on, that's going to be extremely tough. Technical issues all day today, let me tell you. This is by far the most unprepared I think I've been for a live commentary stream in a minute. Nothing of my own doing, unfortunately. Just with the power being out all morning. You know, I said to myself last night too, I usually start the notes process as far as my live commentary streams go the day of. And the reason why I do that is to try to keep everything fresh in my memory, so that way I'm not having to look at my stat sheet as often. And I could try to keep the eyes on the camera, but I was obviously unable to do that today. I was kind of telling myself last night, I'm like, you know what? I have time to do it, because I wasn't doing anything last night. There was no truck race going on. So there wasn't a live commentary stream. And I was like, I'll just do it, Saturday morning as usual. And then I wake up and the power's out. And I'm like, oh, great. Don't know where else to go. Because I know foxsports.com has a live leaderboard for the races. I don't know if they do for practice. Okay, they do. Well, this gives us something for the meantime. I'll have to move my camera over. Whoop, up the display. Okay, so we have something. If I had known that, I definitely would have pulled the trigger on going to foxsports.com earlier, so I do apologize for that. Obviously, I knew that they had stuff up during the race, especially this time of the year with the races being on Fox. But I wasn't sure about practice and qualifying because Amazon Prime has the coverage for that visually, at least, even though they've got the Fox commentators Mike Joy, Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer in the booth at this time of the year. All right, now I can get the chat back up on my phone. I feel better about myself. Obviously, NASCAR.com would have more to show for. We have the live leaderboard here, but at least we don't have, or unfortunately, we don't have the lap average sheet. So that I'm going to have to pull off the NASCAR app until NASCAR.com comes about. Quite a few laps have been ran in practice now by Carson Hocevar, who's still on the racetrack. 38 laps during his session. The first 25 minutes is almost up. Again, Group A will get 25 minutes on the Group 2 drivers. Group B, Group 2 will be on the racetrack for their 25 minutes shortly. Take a commercial break right in between the two groups, and won't be that long of a wait. Least amount of laps ran, Jonathan Nemechek has only ran 14 laps, despite being 11th on our practice grid. Cody Ware has also ran 14 back in the 18th place position. But if Hocevar continues on the track here until the time is up, he'll get about 2 more laps in, and that should get him to 40 or 41 laps total in practice, which would be the most of any driver. So he was the first driver out, he's the last driver out, and he's first on the leaderboard overall. On the lap average sheet, Hocevar would also have the fastest 5-lap average. Josh Berry has the fastest 10-lap average, which obviously winning at Las Vegas on a lower grip intermediate track a couple weeks ago, that could be big for him. We'll see what kind of speed he'll have this weekend. Josh Berry also has the fastest 15-lap average, and Hocevar has the fastest 20-lap average, but he's the only driver that made a 20-lap stint on his tires. So there's not a huge sample size for the 20-lap average side of things in this practice session. So again, the lap average only indicates consecutive laps. So if you don't make a consecutive lap run of, say, 20 plus laps, then you're not going to fall into that category at all. Just be discontinued for select drivers. Hocevar fell to the second fastest 10-lap average, third fastest 15-lap average, and as the runs seemed to get longer and longer, Brad Keselowski was getting quicker and quicker. Because on the 5-lap average, he was fourth. Then he had the third fastest 10-lap average and the second fastest 15-lap average to that of Josh Berry, who again was top of the charts in both of those. Most of the drivers that you see in Group A this week were towards the back of the field last weekend at Martinsville, for one reason or another, in the finishing order. And I think that's a lot to do with the fact that there's going to be a lot stronger competitors when we get into Group 2. Emogene Blevins, welcome to the stream, by the way. 12 likes. Our like goal is 50 for the live commentary streams of NASCAR practice and qualifying. Fastest speed for Hocevar, 168.054 miles per hour. And that best lap time is a 29.262 around this 1 1/3 mile egg-shaped oval. But the 25 minutes is up for the Group A drivers, and again, Group B will be on shortly. Your order of the first 19, Carson Hocevar in first, Josh Berry second, Eric Jones third, Austin Cindric fourth, Justin Haley fifth, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. sixth, Austin Dillon seventh, Brad Keselowski eighth, Daniel Suarez ninth, Noah Gragson 10th, John Nemechek 11th, AJ Allmendinger 12th, Cole Custer 13th, Alex Bowman 14th, Austin Hill 15th, Shane Van Gisbergen 16th, Riley Herb 17th, Cody Ware 18th, and JJ Yaley round. Series race live commentary stream will be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern this afternoon, about 2.5 hours from now. And our NASCAR Cup Series coverage tomorrow will begin at the same start time we've had the last several weeks, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, beginning with our pre-race. And in that pre-race, we'll go over some NASCAR trivia, and we'll obviously have some NASCAR action going on with the race later on. But in the pre-race itself, we got NASCAR Sporkle trivia we'll do collectively, one quiz per live commentary stream for the Cup Series all season long. And the pre-race predictions, fantasy lead-up, as we kind of went into that on this stream, but obviously we'll repeat that same thing tomorrow as well. And tomorrow we'll have a better look at who I think is going to run well, not run well, based off what we see on-track activity, which is going on currently. While we're waiting for the Group 2 cars to hit the track, we'll take our first ad break of the stream. You're listening live on KRC. Again, NASCAR Cup Series practice at Darlington for tomorrow's NASCAR Throwback Week, the Goodyear 400. Stay warm, stay safe, indeed. Weather's a little cooler where I live for this week. It's definitely not 83 degrees like it is in Darlington, South Carolina. That I can confirm. I saw that, and I'm like, man, that's about double what it is here. Almost. 50 degrees here right now. Not quite double. About a 66% increase. If I'm doing my math correctly, right around there. Looks like on Fox we do have to refresh the leaderboard. So again, Group 2 will begin shortly. I guess while we're waiting on the Group 2 drivers, I could see if NASCAR.com has the raw feed back up and running again. And it is. Okay, that's good. My end. It wasn't down when I went to NASCAR.com on my phone, but it was down for whatever reason on my laptop. And I don't know why that is. But we're good now. And we are back to basics. So because I wasn't able to get all my notes prepared for the qualifying side of things, as I usually drop race statistics, previous years at Darlington, career stats at Darlington for each driver, I don't have them for every driver, so I'm just going to include their stats from the season. I should be able to read that pretty quickly off of NASCAR.com as I'm actually doing the live commentary portion for qualifying like I usually do. So that's going to be a little bit different, but we'll keep, obviously, something going on during that course of time. And again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, I was without power this morning for pretty much the time I woke up until just over an hour before the start of this stream. So I was not able to get all the notes ready to go for the stream like I usually do for today. Usually it takes me somewhere in the ballpark of like 2 to 3 hours to get every driver's statistics all the way through the field. In this case, this weekend, all 38. See what they're like career-wise at Darlington. And that kind of helps give me a gauge for who I'm going to pick tomorrow in my must-haves, my don't-haves, my sleeper picks, and whatnot. But obviously did not have that specifically for today. So I'm going to have to get that done tonight into tomorrow on top of getting the usual race stuff up and running for tomorrow's side of things. I didn't even think the storms were going to be nasty enough to knock the power out last night. We have way, way nastier storms at my place a couple of nights ago, and that didn't knock the power out. But for whatever reason, it was out when I got up this morning. So it is what it is. Dog peed on the floor again, so that part of it stayed the same. But the rest was a little bit different. Again, lap times will intertwine with what we saw from Group 1. Group 1 is obviously on our leaderboard right now. Group 2 will join shortly as soon as they hit the racetrack. And 25 minutes for their group, just like we had for Group 1 as well. 14 likes on the stream now. Again, our goal is to get 15 likes, actually. So just refreshed it. 15 on our goal of 50. And I know we don't have as many people watching as we usually do because of having to get this stream uploaded onto YouTube later than I usually do. Again, sorry, the power was out. I had no internet connection. I was able to connect to 5G from my phone, but I can't get onto YouTube to create the stream the way I want to. You know, thumbnail, everything I do is laptop oriented, and I couldn't connect anything because there was no internet service. And I was like, oh, I'll just turn my hotspot on. Well, apparently I need to be connected to Wi-Fi for the hotspot to work, which I did not know. I thought I just had to have internet service because I was getting internet service from, Verizon from 5G, but it was a cluster, to say the least. But we are back up and running right now. I got the Detroit Tigers hat on because they are playing currently, so if you're wondering the wardrobe change for this weekend stream, that would be why. We'll have our usual Ryan Blaney stuff up tomorrow, obviously. To hit the racetrack because our diecast showing is another Ryan Blaney one. I know I've shown him off in recent weeks, but this weekend being throwback weekend at Darlington, this one is more fitting for this week specifically because it is the 2018 Darlington throwback from that year's Southern 500 of Ryan Blaney when he threw it back to his father Dave Blaney's Jasper paint scheme from the early 2000s. And I actually have the Jasper car as well as a diecast on my collection. So for this stream, the diecast showing will be Ryan Blaney's throwback. And for the Xfinity Series race, was the original of what this throwback is. And I will say they did a good job with the side skirts and everything on the car. The door cell sponsorship, I wish would have looked more like the Jasper sponsorship on the original paint scheme with the slanted blue font to kind of match the car. Because obviously the number font and everything else, that's all the same. Color number, everything's the same except for the hood. And this weekend, I think a lot of people really like Kyle Larson's Terry Labonte, Tony the Tiger throwback weekend on the stream for our diecast showing. And the only thing I didn't like about it is the HendrickCars.com logo is exactly the same. And it doesn't look anything like a Kellogg's logo. And obviously not having Tony the Tiger's face planted on the hood of the car is a big difference as well. So that was one thing that kind of sticks out like a sore thumb to me. I'd say even more so than the number placement and moving the numbers up forward, which I know some people can kind of get around because we've seen that for several years now. It's hard to believe it's already the 4th year of the next-gen car and all the changes that the 2022 season and the next-gen car brought to NASCAR. It's crazy to believe that we're already this far into it. Once again, if you're just tuning in, wondering what's going on in NASCAR practice so far at Darlington for the Goodyear 400, Carson Hocevar fastest in Group 1. He also had the fastest 5-lap average, and then the fastest 10-15 lap averages in practice were Josh Berry, who was second fastest overall. Hocevar had the fastest 20-lap average, but he was the only driver to make a 20-plus lap green flag run. He ran all the way out to the finish from the start of the 25 minutes, ended up with 39 laps ran, and quite a bit of a racetrack. Your 19 drivers who will compete in Group 2 of practice today will be Ty Gibbs, Ryan Preece, Ty Dillon, William Byron, Kyle Busch, Todd Gillen, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Zane Smith, Michael McDowell, Denny Hamlin, Tyler Reddick, Chase Briscoe, Bubba Wallace, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, and Chris Buescher. Again, those are the 19 drivers that are currently hitting the racetrack as Group 2 practice has begun. Green flag has already been displayed, and we will be green for the next 25 minutes, obviously outside of any incidents that we may see in practice, which we did not see any in Group 1. As far as Group 2 goes, hopefully we could say the same there. And again, their fastest lap times will intertwine very shortly. So waiting for the first lap to be completed at speed for the Group 2 drivers. You're going to see a lot of newcomers up into the top 10, I'm sure of it, just with the list of names that we have in this second group alone. Over a minute in, William Byron fastest on the first lap, 29.669. Ty Gibbs up into the top 10. Reddick just outside of that. Bubba Wallace, who has been the fastest overall in practice 3 consecutive weeks, trying to look for 4 this weekend at Darlington. He was on the front row for the Southern 500 last season, too, so it wouldn't be impossible to see Wallace have another strong weekend again this week as well. Second lap quicker for Byron. First 3 laps or so, you're going to see these drivers run their quickest times, and then once those tires really start to fall off and settle in, we'll pretty much have the entire practice leaderboard up once these drivers get a couple of laps in. Nobody has knocked Hocevar off the top, but Byron is the fastest still in Group 2. He had the fastest of the first lap and the second lap, so I'd imagine for 5-lap average, he's going to be up there. That last lap. .529 specifically. Ryan Preece looking pretty good out of the gate. Hamlin, Blaney. Top 5 in Group 2, Byron, Gibbs, Preece, Hamlin, Blaney. So far. And all 38 cars have made at least 1 lap in practice, so that means all the Group 2 cars obviously have made at least 1 lap as well. Having the green racetrack at the beginning might be helpful for Hocevar. Well, maybe not completely green, because Xfinity Series had practice and qualifying earlier this morning. So this track did take in a little bit of rubber, but even still, NASCAR sweeps the track off in between sessions. So when qualifying was done for the Xfinity Series, all that rubber was taken off, essentially. So you're going to see a lot of the faster times on a week-to-week basis in practice coming out of Group 1 on the overall charts. Could affect the lap averages, especially for the short run when we look at that stat sheet as well. Byron has just completed 5 laps. We'll wait another minute or 2 to look at the 5-lap averages from both groups combined once we get every driver to complete 5, because some of them have not. Some of them on their 4th or 5th lap so far. But yeah, that's going to stand. Carson Hocevar is going to be the fastest in practice this weekend. And the Spire cars have been really fast on the intermediate tracks as well this year when it comes to the practice side of things, so that's probably not a shock either. Hocevar has been a driver who's qualified well most of the year also, so when we get into qualifying, look out. Might have a shot. He also qualified very well, top 5 last year at Darlington Raceway, along with Bubba Wallace, in the fall event specifically, the Southern 500. But the temperatures we're seeing this weekend at Darlington is not that far off of what we'd see in the fall. And considering that that race takes place in the nighttime for the Cup Series and this one in the daytime, this could be just as slick of a racetrack weather-wise and track temperature-wise than what we would see in the fall as well. So there might be a lot of crossover there than what we would usually see for the spring Darlington date. And currently 84 degrees, and it's supposed to get to 87 before the Xfinity race a little later. Which again, our coverage for that will be at 3:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Similar temperatures during the Cup race, high of 87. And wind is supposed to be just a little bit gustier, but not by much. Less than 5 miles per hour difference. right around 15-mile-per-hour winds. All right, we'll look at the 5-lap averages now. All the way across the board. Carson Hocevar still the quickest. William Byron looking really good. He's got the 4th fastest 5-lap average and fastest overall for Group 2. And I think that's very telling, especially with the caliber of driver in that second group compared to Group 1. Still waiting for the 10-lap averages to complete for most of these drivers. We'll get a full look at that the closer we get to the end of the 25-minute block. There are some Group 2 drivers who are not out on the racetrack and have made some quick adjustments. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott outside the top 20 overall, that's a little bit surprising. I don't think there's anything for concern there. They'll probably qualify particularly well, especially Larson at a track like Darlington. So he will get back at some point. At 19, we're almost halfway to our goal. If we can get to halfway before qualifying hits, we'll be on pace to getting to our light goal. And we have hit our light goal for practice and qualifying, I think, all but once this season. So let's keep that trend continuing and trying to get to 50. Just over 5 minutes into Group 2 practice. Byron has completed 10 laps. He was one of the first on the track of this group. Top 5 was still the same for Group 2. Byron first, Gibbs second, Grease third, Hamlin fourth, Blaney fifth. Single car qualifying for this week will be 1 lap when we do get there. Last week we had 2, with it being a half-mile short track, but it will be 1 lap and 1 round as we've been seeing for all season on the non-speedway or drafting track ovals. It's amazing the difference in lap time between Hocevar and Berry, first and second. That's probably why Hocevar's fall off in lap time into the longer runs wasn't quite as good as a Josh Berry, who also had fast short run speed, but not as good on the long run again for Carson. Started really slipping back. 29.262, 29.415 for Berry. Qualifying is going to be very, very fun to watch, because we're definitely going to see faster lap times than that, I do believe. Usually in practice, especially nowadays with just having the group blocks like we have had for the last several seasons, it's usually a long run race practice stint, and you don't really get a qualifying stint until qualifying begins. The only time you really see that is on the road courses or any sort of track that might be newer to the Cup Series where they get multiple sets of tires. We saw that with Iowa last oval side of things, so they had a full 50-minute practice. So if we do get those throughout the course of the season, you'll also see the same thing. Another track this season that we saw full practice was at Phoenix, because we had the option tire and the prime tire, 2 separate tires there for that event, so they had a full 50 minutes to work with. And we saw mock practice, obviously, usual, and then the mock qualifying run within that 50 minutes on a fresh set of tires. But in the usual event that we would have the typical group qualifying like we have most weeks, usually see a very big pickup from fastest lap time in practice to fastest lap time in qualifying. And obviously every driver working with clean air, the single car qualifying lap on the ovals versus practice might not get that clean air advantage, and that could be impacting how good or bad a driver might be in practice sometimes, because we do see them maybe unload like a Joey Logano in 34th overall in practice. While that is very slow out of 38 cars, and obviously you wouldn't typically see Joey Logano down there. Alex Bowman 31st, for instance, as well. Christopher Bell 29th. I guarantee those three drivers are going to qualify well within the top half of the field. So there might not be as much of a concern there once we get into qualifying, and then it's just managing track position and seeing how the race flow goes once we get to tomorrow. Still green on the practice side of things, and now we can look at the 10-lap average speeds. And Josh Berry still has the fastest 10-lap average. Byron, maybe not a surprise that he's got a fast short run car still. Getting into the longer run side of things, and not rare that you would see Ryan Blaney jump towards the top of the leaderboard on the 15-lap average sheet. Although William Byron had pulled into the pits and did not make a 15-lap stint. So although he had the fastest short run car, long run wise, looks like Byron's coming in to make some adjustments first. Byron, Bell, Nemechek, Ty Dillon, Eric Jones, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Cody Ware, J.J. Yaley, the only drivers for both Group A and Group B combined that did not make a 15-lap average run. So Ryan Blaney's got the fastest long run car here at Darlington. And the long run obviously has been great for Blaney on these and a half per se. It is an intermediate track, and the third oval of which so far this season. So Blaney could be somebody to look out for when we get into a long green flag run in tomorrow's race. 20-lap average, fastest overall for Blaney. Kyle Larson, who's been quick in those first couple intermediates, led the most laps at Vegas, won at Homestead. And here he is, third overall on the 20-lap average sheet. And a lot of those Group 2 drivers, you get into the 20-lap average, and that's where you're going to see a lot of them. A lot of drivers in Group A did not make a 20-lap run. Only Carson Hocevar did, and Hocevar's last, oddly enough, of the drivers making a 20-plus lap run in Group 2. So yeah, Blaney, Larson, Reddick, who's been very strong at Darlington the last couple of tries. This very race last season finished second. Kyle Busch, top 5 on the 20-lap average sheet in practice. Bubba Wallace up there in the top 10. Looking to go for 3 straight top 5 finishes this weekend. Very, very interesting. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. We have daily NASCAR content usually on the channel. I've been working a lot of hours at work the last couple weeks in preparation for my vacation that I will be taking at the end of the month. I will be going to the Talladega Super Speedway and then the Texas Motor Speedway race the following week. So I'm actually going to be away from home for about 2 weeks. With that being said, there will be content on the channel still. I still plan on doing live commentary streams for those weekends of the racing that I will not be physically at the track for. So although I'll be at the Cup race, I can guarantee I'll be doing ARCA race commentary that weekend at Talladega, and maybe the Xfinity race. That's kind of up in the air as of right now. Obviously, when we get to that week, I will for sure have a 100% answer for you, but still 3 weeks in advance, I don't have the full answers for you yet as to what streams I will be doing and not be doing. I can confirm for the following weekend at Texas, I will be doing live commentary for Xfinity, and I think the trucks are running Texas as well, and I will have that also. Cup practice and qualifying will be streamed right here on the channel. I can guarantee that for Talladega and Texas. So we'll still have practice qualifying streams. Obviously, Dega, they're not practicing. I'll pull up the schedule real quick. But that is why, if you're wondering why you haven't seen as much gaming on the channel the last couple weeks, I've just been tired. Actually, this is the first day I've had off of work in 11 days. Well, this would be the 12th day, so technically I worked for 11 straight. This is my 1 day off, and then I'm back on again from now through, gosh, I don't even know. Might be Easter, honestly, so That is why there isn't as much gaming on the channel, but we will still be pumping out these live commentary streams every weekend, whether I work or not work. And I know I've shared with you guys that I've been working overtime. Like last weekend, I worked every day throughout the weekend. We're still pumping in these live commentary streams, so just giving myself extra rest. I don't want to stream and just be dog going into the stream because that's not fun for me, and I don't think that's fun for you guys, the viewers, because I'm not my 100% typical self. I don't want to force content just to force it. And we are still on our pace for 300 live streams on the year. I'm keeping that promise since December 31st of last year. We did that New Year's Eve stream leading up to midnight, and I told you guys that I was going to stream for 300 days this year. And I've only had 27 off to this point, and we're more than almost a quarter of the way through the year. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to stream as much on the 2-week vacation, but that's the only extended vacation I'm going to be taking back. The other races I can confirm that I am going to this season outside of Dega in Texas, I will be going to the Michigan June race. That's my home track, so definitely going there. I plan on going to Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400 with me moving to North Carolina next year. That is, well, at the end of this season. Then it's probably going to be my last year I'll be able to go to that with it being relatively close. It's about 4 hours from where I live, so I'm going to take the advantage, go to that one. And then there's 2 more races, Bristol Night, and then one that is unconfirmed right now, but I planned on at least 6. 6 to question mark 7. But 6 for sure. Homestead gets announced as the finale for next season. Very high probability I'll be at Phoenix for the championship this year. It means that'll be the last year they'll have it there. And although I was at Phoenix before, I was not able to catch the full weekend of events when I was there, so I want to be able to do that before they move away from Phoenix for the championship. So that would probably be the 6th date, but it's not confirmed yet. So looking into the 25, 30 lap averages in practice as well, Ryan Blaney quickest, obviously in the 20 and then 25, 30. Kyle Larson fell back a bit from 20 to 30. 20 lap average, he was 3rd. 4th fastest in the 25 lap average and 30 lap averages. Kyle Busch actually getting quicker and quicker as the run carries on. Kyle Busch had decent speed on the intermediates this season. Not as much as he did right out of the gate with the super speedway drafting tracks as well as that road course at COTA, but he had borderline top 10 speed, and I think we could see that out of Busch again this weekend. Larson's definitely my pick for the Xfinity race today. And I thought about taking him to sweep the weekend again. And I think I'm still going to do it because Ryan Blaney's track record at Darlington is not great, even though the speed looks phenomenal so far this weekend. And again, it looks so reminiscent of Homestead. Long run, the 5, the 12 on top. Ended up taking the 5 at Homestead, and he got the win. But during the course of that race, Blaney looked faster. Vegas, the 5, when he had the clean air, was the fastest. Couldn't pass in traffic as well as he could when we were at Homestead that following week. I would probably say that Blaney and Larson are the 2 favorites for this race. And then Byron with that short run speed, knowing how much harder it is to pass at a track like Darlington versus tracks like Vegas and Homestead, which are getting harder and harder year by year. It seems like this next gen as the teams catch up to the car. It's just always been tough to pass at not Martinsville. Well, Martinsville too, but at Darlington specifically. The width of the racetrack and the actual racing line, not as wide, so making the passes way more technically sound. You're still going at relatively high speeds for as tight as this track is. These cars were not built to race a track like this. That track was built for cars back in the 50s and 60s, and this track has more than surpassed the speeds that were fathomable at that point in time. Back when this track debuted. One of the oldest in NASCAR, fitting for it being throwback race weekend. Just a couple minutes left for practice overall. And we've gone through the statistical lap leaders. Again, 5-lap average fastest, Carson Hocevar. Josh Berry with the fastest 10 and 15 lap averages. Ryan Blaney with the fastest 25, 20, and 30 lap averages in practice. And once more, the overall sheet, Carson Hocevar, fastest time overall, 168.054 mile per hour average. He ran a total of 39 laps, and that lap time equated to a 29.262. Josh Berry, second fastest in practice. Eric Jones, third. Austin Cindric, fourth. Justin Haley, top 5. William Byron, sixth, was the fastest of Group 2. Then he had Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 7th. Ty Gibbs, Group 2, was 8th overall. Austin Dillon, 9th. Brad Keselowski, 10th. Ryan Preece, who was 3rd in Group 2 overall in practice, is 11th on the grid. Denny Hamlin, 12th. 4th in Group 2. And Blaney rounded out the top 5 on the overall sheet. In Group 2 was 13th overall. Chase Briscoe, 14th. Then you got Chris Buescher, 15th. Tyler Reddick, 16th. 17th for Ross Chastain. Daniel Suarez, 18th. Noah Gragson, 19th. Bubba Wallace, 20th. Chase Elliott, 21st. Michael McDowell, 22nd. Kyle Larson, 23rd. 24th for John Hunter Nemechek. Kyle Busch, 25th. AJ Allmendinger, 26th. Todd Gilliland, 27th. Zane Smith, 28th. Christopher Bell, 29th. Cole Custer, 30th. Alex Bowman, 34th. And Ty Dillon, 35th. And our last 3, Riley Herbst, 36th. Cody Ware, 37th. And J.J. Yaley, 38th. So that will round out the leaderboard overall for Goodyear 400 practice at Darlington Raceway. And again, qualifying will begin very shortly, as we have a couple minutes still remaining in the practice session, which was 25 minutes for both Group 1 and Group 2. While we wait on that, we'll take our second break in the live commentary stream. Coverage on KRC continues. Luckily, I was able to get the practice order at least up on, or not practice order, qualifying order up sheet I have. But as far as the track statistics, driver by driver, as I usually like to read off and give you guys all that information during the course of the qualifying side of things, I don't have as much to look off of with the power being out. At least for the 5 awake hours I was up for earlier this morning. Like I said, it could have been out for longer than that because it wasn't raining anymore when it got up. So it's hard telling for sure exactly how long I was without power for. It wasn't raining or out when I went to bed last night, which was about 10 o'clock, so. Couldn't tell you. When we do get into qualifying, it will be the 2 open drivers going first, as we usually see the open drivers go first in qualifying. So Austin Hill and J.J. Yaley will be the first 2. And the reason why Austin Hill's first is the first start for that 33 car, so there's no owner's points to go off of on the metric system. And obviously didn't run last week either. All that statistical analysis that goes into the database, which puts out our qualifying order on a week-to-week basis. I remember it used to be, for a long time, it was random draw as to when they went out for qualifying. And then I don't know when they went to practice times. I don't know if that was around the start of the NASCAR charter era. It might have been owner's points before that, too. I think they went off of owner's points, and then they went off of practice. But now that practice and qualifying is in the same day, we have this metric system to go off of, which is basically what set the lineups for the 2020 season outside of those first couple of races, because they only did the racing that season with no practice or qualifying for most other races to follow outside of the championship, and I think the Coke 600 that season also had qualifying but no practice. But anyway, that formula equates the driver owner standings as well as fastest lap from last week and most recent race finish, which would have been from the week before. So again, Austin Hill will be the first driver out to qualify, and our practice session has concluded. After Austin Hill, again, J.J. Yaley. Then we get into the charter entries. Eric Jones will be the third driver to qualify. Then Shane Van Gisbergen, Cole Custer, Cody Ware, Riley Herbst, Noah Gregson, Austin Cindric, Josh Berry, and Justin Haley. And that will be the first roughly 10, 11 drivers to take the racetrack for qualifying here this afternoon. Halfway through our live commentary stream. And I guess I'll put the chat poll up now for who you think is most likely to get the pole. William Byron had good short run speed. Who wins? Who wins the Goodyear 400 pole? I guess I got to put Kyle Larson up there. William Byron, other. Who else do I think is going to be a contender for the pole? Got to look at the short run. I really think Carson Hocevar's got a shot at it. But I don't think he's going to get that many votes in the poll. I'll put him up there, though. I mean, he qualified well last season. Curious to see what you guys in the chat think. I think Hocevar is going to qualify really well. I guarantee he's qualifying top 10 at the very least. Because he qualified top 5 for the Southern 500 last year, and that team has been quicker this year at qualifying every week. Very consistent basis. They've been up at the front of the field. Got an influx of viewers tuning in here. I know that NASCAR streams practice on their YouTube channel. Either that or the Amazon Prime YouTube channel. I obviously can't watch as I'm streaming on another YouTube channel. I guess I could pull it up, but I have the chat on my phone at all times, so I wouldn't be able to look at the chat throughout the course of the practice side of things. But greatly appreciate you guys tuning in. And again, qualifying will begin very shortly, and Austin Hill will be the first car out on track. We'll get the qualifying order up on the screen now. There it is. So Austin Hill will be the first. Again, 1 lap per driver and 1 round total for this weekend. Practice on Prime on YouTube, but not qualifying. Thank you for that. Yeah, I knew that they didn't for qualifying, because every weekend we've done these live commentary streams, we get way more people for the qualifying than the practice, where years past it was mainly just practice, but that makes sense that they're obviously airing the actual video footage of practice going on for the full session. It's cool that they're doing that, though. Even though it takes away from me. The overall basis is I want to help grow the sport. And that's obviously one way for them to do it. Base Tugboat, 2675, though. Thanks for tuning in as well. I'll give shout-outs, obviously, to anybody new that we see in the chat between now and the finish of the stream. Our like goal is 50, as usual, for practice and qualifying, and we are at 20. So we're just less than halfway to our goal as of right now, so be sure to hit the like button. It really helps these streams out a ton. Helps push the content to other NASCAR-related content on YouTube. Actually, I just refreshed it. We're at 26 likes, so we are just past halfway to our goal of 50. We get beyond that, that's even greater. So this will be the first start for Austin Hill in the NASCAR Cup Series this season. And he has started a couple races each of the last few years in that 33 at RCR for the non-chartered entry. I believe he ran at Michigan last season. Don't have Prime, so thanks for streaming qualifying. Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you appreciating me. John Barber, welcome to the stream. Hope you won't be affected by the catastrophic flooding they're predicting for Ohio Valley and across the South this weekend. Yeah, so I live in the state of Ohio. There is quite a bit of flooding around here. The back roads that I take, because it's a slightly shorter route off of I-75 to get to where I live, I have not been able to take that. And I actually went to take it the one day, and it was closed because the water was up over the bridge from the creek. And it was running into like backyards of people's homes that lived in that general area. It looked pretty bad. I don't think the water was very much high above the bridge. I think it was within a couple feet, but I mean, still, like, you get water overflowing with the amount of rain that we've had. Not great. And that was before the rainstorm we had overnight again last night too. And I think it's supposed to rain here tomorrow afternoon as well. So yeah, just a lot of rain in my general area. And actually, again, for those of you just tuning in for the first time and that tune in every weekend during these live commentary streams, especially for qualifying, I usually have more database to go off of when rating statistical performances by drivers at the racetrack. I was without power up until just about an hour, just over an hour or so before the start of this stream. So I do not have everything needed for this side of the stream. So again, just want to put that out there. If it seems like, oh, he's not like talking as much about each driver in detail as he usually does, that would be why. I have not been able to look up a lot of stuff in the prep for the stream today specifically. NASCAR goes to Mid-Ohio. Did you go? I did, yeah. I went to the last truck race and the last Xfinity race. I went for one IndyCar race, which would have been the same year I saw the truck race when Parker Kligerman won, because they were 1 week after another, which was kind of cool. I believe that was when Tyler Reddick got his first career win. It might have been 2021 then, when I saw the trucks at Mid-Ohio, so maybe they've raced there one other time since. I'm trying to get the time frame of that, because I know NASCAR's at Road America that year, and they weren't at Chicago yet. So at 22. It would have been 22, not 21. 2022 was at the truck race and the IndyCar race. Then 21 would have been the Xfinity race the year before. Yeah, we were actually last week on the channel. I forget what stream it was, but I definitely remember talking about this last weekend. And I was at the last truck race at Mid-Ohio, the last Xfinity race at Mid-Ohio, and I was at the last truck race at Eldora in the state of Ohio. So I was like, man, I think I'm a track killer. Because those were the only times I was there. And then somebody mentioned, like, if I'd ever been to Mansfield for the truck races back in the early 2000s, and no, I was not. So I actually didn't go to my first NASCAR race till 2015, but had I been, I probably would have been at the last one. Was that the last race at Chicagoland? 2019, Alex Bowman's first career win. Yeah, I've gone to a lot of lasts for racetracks. The only time I've been to Dover, they eliminated a race from the schedule, and they've only been running there once a year since then. Aren't many NASCAR YouTubers based in Ohio. I only know of one other one, and that's Taylor Kitchens. I don't know of any other NASCAR YouTubers from Ohio. There's very few from the Midwest area, I feel like. At least of ones I know. A lot of them are down south, which is where NASCAR originated, so it makes sense. One of a kind. I got that unique perspective. Marcus Villarreal, thanks for tuning in and predicts C. Bell will sweep the polls and races at Darlington. Bold prediction there. I've got Larson for the Xfinity race, but yeah, the polls and the race. I wonder if anybody's ever done that before. Probably Kyle Busch. I don't have the stat to back that up, but it sounds like something he probably did. Probably at Bristol, one of those times he swept all three races. They were just waiting for Austin Hill to hit the racetrack. Rush the page just in case the Qualifying started without me. But I don't believe that that is the case. Once again, a friendly reminder, we have more NASCAR live commentary coverage coming for you this weekend. Our NASCAR Xfinity Series race stream will begin at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And the NASCAR Cup Series race tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Again, because my power was out this morning, I did not have those streams up and running yet. As soon as this stream comes to an end, I'm going to get the Xfinity Series race stream ready to go. I still got to get the thumbnail ready for all that. I was more worried about trying to get this stream obviously up and running before 12:30 today. That was my main priority, because I did not want to miss anything. I do think that that also might have affected the viewership for practice earlier today. It sucks. I'm just glad I was able to stream, because I was getting scared there. We got past 11 o'clock this morning a.m. here in the East, and I was still without power. I'm like, man, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to do this today. But I didn't want to put anything in the community tab just in case as like a false alarm. So I was holding out on that. Luckily, I was able to get it up and running, and we're here, so I didn't have to cancel anything. The one day I had off of work in the last 11 days would have been the day that I couldn't stream. That would have been top. So Austin Hill is on the racetrack, and he will wrap up his lap time of 30.070 for Austin Hill, 163.538 mile per hour average. I believe Hocevar's average lap was a 168 plus mile per hour wise, and he had a 29.2. And I do think we'll see faster lap times when we get into the faster cars as well. J.J. Yaley for New York Racing will be up next on the track. And he will be the second of the open entry cars for this weekend. This will be the third start of the year for J.J. Yaley. All in the 44. Second of the first two qualifiers for Yaley, 30.314. Wrapping up his time. Eric Jones on the 43 for Legacy Motor Club, our first of the 36 open, or non-open, 36 chartered entry cars. Let me repeat myself there. 36 chartered entries every weekend. Eric Jones, the first of which to qualify today. Eric Jones comes in 29th in points. He's still searching for his first top 5 of the season. He was actually docked 20-plus points last weekend, and the reason why I say that is because he was disqualified at Martinsville as he failed to meet minimum weight in the post-race inspection. Very similar to the penalty that Alex Bowman had at the Roval last season for failing to meet minimum weight. As a result of that, he got relegated to a last-place finish, no stage points. Would have finished 24th had he not failed weight. Lost quite a few points there for Eric Jones. 19 points for the race finishing results that he would have had, which is several spots again in the point standings. He would be just outside the top 20, and instead he's 29th. It's a heck of a battle going on between like 12th through 30th in points right now. It's still all very tight with one another. 29.617 for Eric Jones. Fastest of our first 3 qualifiers, Shane Van Gisbergen. Still in search for his first top 10 as well this season. And as far as SVG goes, this will be his first career start at Darlington Raceway in the NASCAR Cup Series. 29.928 for SVG, second on our qualifying grid with a 164.314 mile per hour average. Van Gisbergen was towards the bottom of the speed charts in practice. As racetrack for any and all rookies, especially if you don't have a lot of oval racing experience like SVG has, just that 1 year of Xfinity Series racing with Kaulig last season before jumping to Cup full-time for this season. Cole Custer in the 41 for Haas is now going to be on track. 35th in the point standings for Custer to start the season. Second to last of all the full-time competitors running for points in the NASCAR Cup Series this year. 36 drivers have ran all 7 races, again 35th for Cole Custer. Fastest on our qualifying speed chart so far, though, 29.483. And he actually qualified top 10 in Martinsville last week. I was running there for the first half of the race before falling behind on a restart at the beginning of stage 2. We had 29.483 for Cole Custer. Well over a tenth quicker than Eric Jones, who had the original fastest lap through the first 5 qualifiers now. Cody Ware, who would be the only driver behind Custer in the driver's standings, is wrapping up his qualifying lap. Pretty respectable, I'd say, for Cody Ware, 29.757. Outqualified the 88, 33, and the 44 in the Rick Ware Racing Ford. Riley Herbst will be the second Toyota, first of which at 23:11, making his first Cup start at Darlington Raceway as well. Running for the Rookie of the Year honors with Shane Van Gisbergen, currently leads the Rookie of the Year by 9 points against his running mate. Both Herbst and Van Gisbergen 33rd and 34th in the standings. 29.525 for Riley Herbst, second quickest in qualifying, fastest of the 2 Toyotas. And a lap average speed of 166.557 miles per hour. Just over 400ths off of Custer's fast lap. And up next will be Noah Gragson in the 4. Gregson's probably been the fastest of the front row motorsport Fords, at least in my opinion, on speed on a consecutive basis. Just hasn't gotten the finishes in some of those races. He was running top 10 for most of the day at Vegas before getting a tire cut on a late race caution, which took Blaney out of the race. Bell was obviously in that 4-wide battle as well at that point in time. He did get a top 10 finish at Coda after running there for most of the second half of that race, but there was another race in there too. He also had a solid run. I think it might have been Homestead. He was top 15 the whole day and had to pit unscheduled in the final stage of the race. So speed has been there for the Ford, just needs to click away better finishes. And the speed is there again here in qualifying, 29.292, very close to Carson Hocevar's fast lap in practice. A little bit off of Hocevar's practice top time, but a great lap for Noah. Of our first 8 drivers to qualify, now up next will be Austin Cindric. Cindric still back in the point standings after the 50-point penalty following the right rear hook of that of Ty Dillon in the Coda race, which was our 3rd of the season. Cindric is 24th in points since then. He does have 1 stage win on the year, which came at Atlanta. Vegas, actually. He won stage 1 at Vegas. He led a lot of laps at Atlanta. He's still currently 3rd on the laps led list for 2025 in the Cup Series. And he goes to P1 on our speed charts. Fastest lap we've seen so far today, practice and now into qualifying. 28.948 for Cindric. 3 Fords at the top as of right now, then 2 Toyotas. And 3 Chevys rather at the bottom with the 88, 33, and 44 of SVG, Austin Hill, and JJ Yaley. Josh Berry will be the 10th driver out on the racetrack, and our first driver of those that have a win in 2025. His came on one of the other intermediates this season at Las Vegas. 2 top 5 finishes for Berry. They were in those back-to-back races of Phoenix and Vegas. He's failed to finish inside the top 10 the last couple of tries. Had a battery issue at Martinsville despite leading quite a few laps in stage 1 of that race, and you wonder what kind of speed he could have had for that one. 1 stage win to go along with it for Berry, but a quite successful start to the 2025 season, his first year with the Wood brothers. Second for Berry in qualifying, 29.265, just over 0.3 of a second off of Cindric's lap, so it just goes to show the speed difference that Cindric had versus everybody else that's hit the racetrack so far. It was a great lap by Austin. I think that's going to hold at least for a top 10. And that's going to be a tough time to beat for the pole as well. Christopher Bell set the pole lap last weekend at Martinsville, and he was one of the first dozen drivers to go out as well. So could that be the case 2 weeks in a row with Austin Cindric going out in the first dozen and posting a quick lap as he tries to get his first pole of the season. Our next 10 drivers to qualify will be Justin Haley, Brad Keselowski, John Hunter Nemechek, AJ Allmendinger, Carson Hocevar, Daniel Suarez, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Chris Buescher. And our top 10 currently has Austin 4th, Riley Herbst 5th, Eric Jones 6th, Cody Ware 7th, Shane Van Gisbergen 8th, Austin Hill 9th, and JJ Yaley rounding out the top 10. Quarter of the way through qualifying, you're listening live on KRC. We'll take a quick break as Goodyear 400 qualifying continues. Very tight, by the way, in the chat poll for who you think is going to qualify on the poll for tomorrow's Goodyear 400 at Darlington. 25 votes, 36% of them taking Larson, 32% taking somebody other than Larson, Hocevar, or Byron. Hocevar, 20% actually has more votes than Byron, who is at just 12% of the votes, and we have not seen any of those three cars hit the track yet. Hocevar will be coming up shortly. His teammate Justin Haley will be next, as mentioned already. As for Justin Haley, he's 26th in points. And Spire's been qualifying well this year, although Haley hasn't been quite up to par in qualifying with that of the decent long-run pace in the races compared to those two on most of the weeks. But because of not qualifying well, he's not scoring the stage points those two are, and especially that of Michael McDowell, his teammate, who's actually in the playoffs if they were to begin today. While we wait for Justin Haley's time to post, I'll get back to the chat. Frank Powers, welcome to the stream. How's qualifying order determined? Qualifying order is based on the metrics of, it's a combination of four things. It is race week, then fastest lap time from the week before, owner's points, driver's points. So that's why you're seeing a lot of the faster competitors going out last on a week-to-week basis. Now, this week, our last five will be Wallace, Larson, Elliott, Bell, Hamlin. Bubba's got back-to-back top fives. He's top 10 in owners and drivers' points, so that's why he's up there. You know, Kyle Larson, second in points. Top 10 last week at Martinsville. Chase Elliott, top 5 last week. He's up in the top 3 in points. Bell, Hamlin, they're top 5, top 6 in points, and finished first and second last week. So today in the order that they will go out. And you could assume that they had fast lap times in that race, considering the speed they had with the race finishing result. Justin Haley jumped up to second quickest, now drops to third on qualifying at 29.185 for him. Brad Keselowski, who came out just after him, 29.172. For Keselowski, the defending winner of this race. Also 2018 Southern 500 winner for Keselowski. One of the best qualifying efforts he's had so far this season, though, that 29.172 to get up to second on the leaderboard. We'll see how well that holds. Keselowski struggled in qualifying all year. And he has also been struggling on the race speed, race pace side of things. Keselowski comes into this one 30th in points with no top 10s. Both of his teammates are in the top 14th in points. Ryan Preece is 14th. Chris Buescher 11th. So good to see Brad at least qualifying well this weekend, maybe able to pick up where he has lacked for most of the year. John Hunter Nemechek, our fastest of our first three Toyota drivers to qualify at Darlington. 29.315 for Nemechek. Splats him 6th on the leaderboard, right in the middle of our 13 drivers who have already gone out. And number 14 will be AJ Allmendinger for Colleague. And he will be the first of the two Colleague entries to make a qualifying lap today. Tied for 17th, in fact, with John Hunter Nemechek, but Nemechek holds the tiebreaker, which would be better average finish if they do not have the race wins, which obviously neither of them do. But AJ's had some great speed on the two intermediate tracks that we have ran so far in 2025, top 10 at both Vegas and Homestead. Team tomorrow. More on that in detail in our pre-race. Pretty good on qualifying. Beat a couple of the Fords who were quick out of the gate of Barry and Gregson. Fourth for AJ out of 14. 29.230 was his fast lap. And Carson Hocevar on the charts. Thought he had a chance to go for the pole, and he got awfully close to Austin Cindric. 28.994 for Hocevar. Second. I knew he was going to be quick because he qualified extremely well for the Southern 500 last year. He's qualified well for most of this season. No matter what kind of track we go on, super speedway, road course, oval. He's been up there in qualifying almost every week, and here he is second out of 15. And the only other lap time, sub 28, is the only time ahead of him of Austin Cindric, and he was within 0.04 of a second of Cindric's lap. Daniel Suarez for Trackhouse Racing, our 16th competitor, will run a 29.457. Not a great lap. Ninth for Suarez. And he's been towards the bottom on the ovals so far this season, outside of the super speedways. On qualifying, but seems to have better race pace. Second at Vegas. Had a top 5 run going for him at Phoenix before the Catherine Legg incident. So the speed's been there, but qualifying has definitely been lacking for Daniel Suarez this season, which is affecting his ability to score stage points in stage 1 and sometimes stage 2. 21st in points for Suarez coming into the weekend. Next driver to qualify, Austin Dillon, whose best finish in the Southern 500 and or Darlington Raceway would have came in the Southern 500, where he finished runner-up to Kevin Harvick in 2020. Very underrated racetrack for Austin Dillon here at Darlington Raceway. 6th for Austin. And he had a near top 10 run going on a low grip track at Homestead a couple weeks ago, so he could be another one of those sleeper at Darlington again this weekend as well. It's a track that usually he runs well at. Ended up finishing just outside the top 10 and 13th, but again was there for most of stage 3 at Homestead a couple of weeks ago. So he might see a similar run. Again, 6th, 29.255 was the lap time for Dillon. Alex Bowman, 29.572. Our first of 4 Hendrick Motorsport drivers. 13th for Bowman. Not a great lap for him either. He did not qualify well at Martinsville last week and ran outside the top 30 for most of it, but they might have lingered this weekend to Darlington Raceway too, which is very weird when you consider he was runner-up at Homestead just 2 weeks before. And still top 5 in points as well overall, despite having a poor performance last week at the Paperclip. Tied for 4th with Bell in the standings. Bowman starting deep in the field, fastest in qualifying, 29.318. And that will be the top half of the field for today's qualifying session. So those are the first 19 drivers. Our next 9 to 10 will be Chris Buescher to go out. After Buescher will be Ty Gibbs, then Zane Smith, Ty Dillon, Kyle Busch, William Byron, Todd Gillen, Michael McDowell, Tyler Reddick, and Ryan Blaney. Those will be the next 9 drivers to go out and make a qualifying lap. Chase Briscoe after Blaney. So again, halfway through qualifying, and Austin Cindric has our fast time, 28.948, with an average speed of 169.877 miles per hour. Only the top 4 times of the first 19 that have ran a qualifying lap were faster than the fastest lap that Carson Hocevar put down of any driver in practice just before this session began. Suarez is on the hot seat. Yes, he is. Group qualifying went too long. Single car speeds it up. Yeah. I never liked the idea. Granted, we haven't seen it as much with the next gen car, but when we had group qualifying or round by round qualifying, which took place Gen 6 era, I can remember there being times where somebody would set the track record in round one but didn't get the pole because they couldn't back that lap up in round two. And as a pure racing fan, they kind of upset me a little bit. Like, how do you set the track record in qualifying and not get the pole in that same session? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I am glad they have gone back to single car again. I do agree. A single round, I should say, specifically. All right. So Cindric on the hot seat. Second half of the field still to qualify. Take another break. You're listening live on KRC. Goodyear 400 coverage. We're up to 33 on our light goal of 50. Past halfway, still in the works to trying to get to our goal, so be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so yet. We still have well more than that many people watching. Waiting for Chris Buescher to round his qualifying lap up. And see where Buescher puts himself. Third highest Ford in the point standings for Buescher. One top five on the season. No stage wins. Obviously was a threat for the wins, battling Reddick in the waning laps. Both of them got against each other against the wall. Buescher cut a tire. Resulted in a not so good finish despite having great race pace. And his teammate Brad Keselowski qualified well already. Still up in the top three, and we don't usually see Keselowski qualify well, so I think Chris Buescher should have a pretty good lap coming. With that being said, 28.996, and jumps him up right in front of his teammate. Third fastest, and only the third lap time to run sub 29 seconds in this qualifying session. So Buescher was the 20th driver to go out. Ty Gibbs picked up his first top 15 finish of the season last weekend. Stayed trouble-free. Was actually in the top 10 at times at Martinsville Speedway. Much needed good performance. Still outside the top 30 in points. Still looking for the first top 10 of the year. But it's a good step in the right direction for the driver who is ailing to start this 2025 season. Showed pretty good pace in practice. And here in qualifying, great pace as well. Second for Ty Gibbs, 28.975. Now we're really starting to see the quick lap times as we get to these faster drivers who all partook in Group 2 of practice. So Gibbs good on the practice speed charts, good in qualifying as well, at least for the short run. Much needed improvement over, obviously, if he puts a race together again tomorrow like he did last week for these last couple of weeks compared to what we saw the first six combined. And picking up from where he left off last season, performance level-wise, but step in the right direction here lately. 29.008, pretty respectable lap for Zane Smith. Second-year driver. Front Row Motorsports' first year in the Cup Series there. That's a pretty solid lap. Right between the RFK Fords of Buescher and Keselowski. Again, fifth for Zane Smith. Colleague Racing. Dylan 25th in points coming into the race this weekend. On the ovals the last several weeks, he's actually had some pretty decent runs going for him. Up until Martinsville last week. Not a great qualifying lap, though. 29.4. 29.412. 14th for Ty Dillon. He's going to be starting very deep in the field tomorrow. Probably going to be right around 30th when our qualifying session wraps up. And former Darlington Southern 500 winner, Kyle Busch. In the 8 for Richard Childress Racing. His teammate Austin Dillon put up a pretty respectable lap. He's still sitting in the top 10. Dillon's lap time not going to hold there. Kyle Busch didn't have great short run speed in practice, but long run speed was great. He was the second fastest in the 25 and 30 lap averages, only behind Ryan Blaney. So Busch could have a pretty good day coming for himself tomorrow. And if he gets a great qualifying effort to go with it, which he does, that could be even better. Second for Kyle Busch, 28.957, only 9/1000ths of a second off of Austin Cindric's top time. That was a great lap by Busch. Much needed. Busch right around that playoff cut line as of right now. First driver out by 9 points on Michael McDowell. Tried not to put himself in as deep of a hole as he was in last season, because we saw how that worked out for him. And Busch has had some good runs at times this year. Hasn't had the consistency to show for it, but looking like he might have speed again this weekend. Newcomer to the top of the speed charts, William Byron, 28.774. Over a 10.5 quicker than Austin Cindric, who had a fast lap in the first half of qualifying. And the reigning points leader in the NASCAR Cup Series, William Byron, is showing off strong. And that time is going to be very tough to beat. And he is in our poll for who you think will qualify on the poll for today's session. 36 votes so far, but only 17% of those 36 votes took Byron. So I'm kind of curious with Byron having the top time if the voting poll is going to get behind him before we wrap things up. I got to step away for a quick second and go get the phone charger from downstairs. Daughter brought it up. I ran as quickly as I could. Might be out of breath. We only missed one guy. We're okay. I didn't realize my phone battery was down to 1%. We're saved. I was about to lose the chat. All right, so Byron's still at the top again, 28.774 as I left off. Michael McDowell was just after him and put a lap time of a 28.972. And Michael McDowell in fourth. I'm out of breath. My cardio. I've noticed this at work the last several weeks, man. I think my cardio is declining. I need to hit the treadmill a little bit more. I think it's the bulk. It's bulk season for me, and it's getting to me that I'm not doing enough cardio along the way. All right, so again, fourth for Michael McDowell. Tyler Reddick third, just after McDowell. So 3 straight drivers, 4 actually if you count Kyle Busch, 4 straight drivers that just qualified are all in the top 5 as of right now. First, third, fourth, and fifth, and then only Cindric's lap time held in that range of drivers, who is currently second. Reddick runner-up in this race a season ago. Again, 28.955 for Reddick. And we've got Ryan Blaney, who had that fastest lap average time in practice of a 20 through 30 lap average, 20, 25, 30 specifically. Should be good on the long run. We'll see what the short run speed's going to look like. His teammate Austin Cindric second. Well, we don't see Blaney qualify as well as Cindric and Logano so far this year, despite having the long run speed in the race. Fifth for Ryan Blaney, 28.958 for him. As a Ryan Blaney fan, I'm all right with that. I think he's going to fall outside of the top 10 with who we have left, but not bad. I think he's going to have a good car, but his statistical performance over his career at Darlington, this is actually one of his worst racetracks. Easy E Network and Patrick Shadley also welcome to the stream as recent viewers tuning in. Larson not been that great in qualifying, though. Ford maybe a threat for the pole. Well, Byron, as of right now, might have something to say otherwise. We only have 2 more Fords to qualify, which would be Ryan Preece and Joey Logano. And I don't see Preece getting the pole. I think he can put a good lap up considering Buescher and Keselowski. We're up there, although they've fallen back now with the quick lap times we've seen lately, 10th and 12th. So I don't even know that Preece is a top 10. Logano could go for it. Cindric's still up in second, but over a tenth and a half difference, so between Cindric's lap and Byron's lap, Logano's going to have to pick up quite a bit. And I don't think he's going to have that in him. But he qualifies the best of the Ford bunches, it seems like, on a week-to-week basis, so I guess not impossible. We'll take our final ad break of the stream here while we await the final drivers to qualify. You're listening live on KRC. We'll go through the full field starting lineup as soon as qualifying wraps up. Make a qualifying lap will be Chase Briscoe, Ryan Preece, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, and then the last 5 will be Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, and Denny Hamlin. Last week's winner. So 3 Joe Gibbs Toyotas, 2 Hendrick Chevys, 2 more Fords, a Trackhouse Chevy, and a 2311 Toyota. Still to go. 38 likes on the stream. Again, our goal is to get to 50. We got almost 100 people in the chat right now. Greatly appreciate you tuning in here on this week-to-week basis. Be sure to hit that like button. It helps these streams out a ton. Subscribe. We're close to 6,000 on the channel. We are very close. I don't think we'll get there this weekend, but I think we can get there by next weekend. At Bristol. Live commentary content continues at the bottom of the next hour. 3:30 p.m. Eastern will go live. NASCAR Xfinity Series race coverage. One of the shorter Xfinity races of the season. 200-miler at Darlington. And that has been one of the better tracks for the Xfinity Series these last several seasons. I'm sure we're going to see another maybe instant classic Bell Larson in that event. Megan Curtin, thanks for tuning in also. In the chat. NASCAR Cup Series coverage tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern with our pre-race. We'll do some NASCAR trivia as we do every NASCAR pre-race. Usually for the Cup races, if you are new, we go live for those events about a half hour to 45 minutes before the start of the race. Go through the drivers who I think are going to run well, not run well, leading up to the predictions. We'll go through the Fantasy League much more, again, for our pre-race for tomorrow's Cup race right here on KRC. Live commentary throughout the coverage as well. Like you're listening now, we'll hear that again later. Chase Briscoe, second in qualifying, 28.879. Our defending racetrack winner, winning the Southern 500 last year, was Stuart Haas in the 14. One of the better racetracks for Briscoe in his career, and now in better equipment than what he won that race with the season ago. He could be a threat this weekend very quietly. Over a 170-mile-per-hour average in his qualifying lap. Closes the gap between first and second to just over a 10. Still a relatively big split between the 24 and 19, but it has closed from the .174 split to at the then second place driver in the lineup, Austin Cindric. Ryan Preece, 28.858. Even closer to Byron's top time, second quickest for Ryan Preece. And what a pickup he had versus his teammates of Buescher and Keselowski. Buescher 12th, Keselowski 14th so far. We still got 7 drivers to go. But Ryan Preece second. Another driver who was at SHR last year and had a solid top 10 run in the Southern 500. And here he is, also flirting with the pole time. Ross Chastain has had solid runs at Darlington with this next-gen car, and in the one for Trackhouse has not won at this racetrack yet. Trackhouse usually setting the standard, seems like, for throwback race weekend. Not a great qualifying lap, though, for Chastain. 19th, 29.285 for Ross. Any truth to Larson going to RFK next year? Also, I did not hear anything about that, and I wouldn't believe it. No way. that Hendrick Motorsports is going to give up a guy like Kyle Larson. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, with his win at Homestead, it puts him third all time amongst Hendrick drivers. And he's only been there since 2021. 33rd driver to hit the racetrack at a 38 for qualifying will be Joey Logano. He's the last Ford to qualify. He won the Goodyear 400 back in 2022. And not a great qualifying lap for Logano behind his teammates at Penske. 29.039 was the lap. 14th for Joey. Right between the other two RFK Fords of Keselowski and Buescher outside the top 10. So we usually see Logano qualify the best of the Penske Fords. This weekend, the worst of the three. Finally got his first top 10 of the season last weekend at Martinsville. But to go back-to-back, he's going to have a little bit of work cut out for him during the race tomorrow. He was slow in practice, so quite the pickup for qualifying, but they definitely seem to be falling behind this weekend compared to usual. 28.895 for Bubba Wallace. The third of three 2311 Toyotas. He's qualified well the last several weeks, coming off back-to-back top fives at Homestead and Martinsville, two very different racetracks, and here he is this weekend, top five in qualifying, currently fourth, with a 170.189 mile per hour average. All right, so Bubba Wallace, top five, four drivers to go. The Hendrick cars of Larson Elliott, the Gibbs cars of Bell and Hamlin. Larson is up next. He's the last driver on our poll in the chat that is open who could try to get this. And one of the other drivers in that poll, William Byron, is the guy to beat. Other obviously could still flirt with it with the other three drivers at the end of this. So we'll see who's going to be right in the chat. Not a great lap at all by Larson. 16th, 29.078. I don't think that's room for concern. He should be quick in the race tomorrow. He had a great long run average speed in practice. Not as good as maybe the 12, the 8, but he was right there behind him. Definitely had a hiccup on his qualifying lap to have that much of a difference between himself and the guy who's up there in the same equipment of William Byron. And Chase Elliott, 29.001, also not the greatest lap. A little bit better than Larson, though. 14th for Elliott, 17th for Larson. So Byron's going to be the only Hendrick Chevy to start in the top 10, and he might have a shot at the pole. Christopher Bell is going to try to go for back-to-back poles on the 2025 season, is now up. Denny Hamlin will be the last driver out. Hopeful, welcome to the stream. I see the Lamar Jackson, Dale Jr. Yeah, I did. I watched the Icebergs video on it. That's all the information I have on that subject. I think the concept itself is dumb. But you know what? Hopefully the best comes out in all of it. And I don't think the trademark is going to be staying away from Dale Jr. All right, Christopher Bell did not get the pole time. And 16th for him, right in between the two Hendrick Chevys who went out right before him of Larson and Elliott. 29.015 for Bell, and Denny Hamlin to round things out for qualifying, trying to go for the pole. His teammate Chase Briscoe is third. Wallace, Reddick, two more Toyotas up there in the top half dozen. Does Hamlin have anything for Byron? Needs to get into the 28.7s. He came close, 28.867, within a tenth, third quickest for Denny Hamlin. And our pole, he was the fastest overall in Group 2 practice. And he was the fastest of the Group 2 drivers in 5 and 10 lap averages as well in practice earlier today. And now he's on the pole for tomorrow's race. 170.904 mile per hour average on that lap again, 28.774 the lap time, excuse me, for William Byron. Take a look at this chat poll here before we go through the rest of the starting lineup. 36% took Kyle Larson, 30% for other, 19% for Hocevar. Last of the 4 voting options of the 47 votes was William Byron. Byron is the guy that gets the poll. Congrats to the 14% of you that took William Byron for our poll today. Sam Sabelos, thanks for tuning in. He's pulling for William B, and he got it. We'll see if he can double down and get the win in the race tomorrow. Definitely will be an interesting watch. Starting lineup for the rest of the Goodyear 400 will look like this. Again, row 1, William Byron, Ryan Preece. Row 2, Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe. Bubba Wallace and Austin Cindric in row 3. Tyler Reddick, Kyle Busch, row 4. Ryan Blaney, Michael McDowell, row 5. Ty Gibbs, Todd Gillen, row 6. Row 7 for Carson Hocevar and Chris Buescher. Row 7 will be Hocevar and Buescher. Actually, Gibbs and Gillen, row 6. I skipped that row, sorry. Again, row 6, Ty Gibbs, Todd Gillen. Then row 7, Carson Hocevar, Chris Buescher. Row 8 will be Chase Elliott, Zane Smith. Christopher Bell, Joey Logano. And row 9, Kyle Larson, Brad Keselowski. Row 10, those 2 rows, we got a lot of heavy hitters. In row 9 and row 10 starting mid-pack tomorrow. Justin Haley, AJ Allmendinger in row 11. Row 12 for Austin Dillon, Josh Berry. Ross Chastain, Noah Gragson, row 13. John Hunter Nemechek and Ricky Stenhouse Jr., row 14. Ty Dillon, Daniel Suarez, row 15. Cole Custer, Riley Herbst, row 16. Row 17, Alex Bowman, Eric Jones starting deep in the field. Bowman, obviously a Hendrick Motorsports. Jones, a 2-time Darlington winner. 2-time Southern 500 winner. Cody Ware and Shane Van Gisbergen in row 18, and then rounding out the field are 2 open entries this week, Austin Hill, J.J. Yaley in row 19. So that's our 38-car field for tomorrow's Goodyear 400, and again, our coverage for that race will begin at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, and we will go live for the NASCAR Xfinity Series race today. We'll be at 3:30 in about 1 hour from now. So again, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll be live for NASCAR Xfinity Series race coverage. Appreciate everybody that tuned in for today's live commentary stream of the NASCAR Cup Series. Be sure to hit the like button again if you haven't done so yet. We're 5 likes to our goal of 100. Or, sorry, 50. I saw 100 people in the chat. That's where I got the 100 from. We're 5 short of our goal of 50, so be sure to hit the like button. Hopefully we can get there shortly after this stream finishes and we get to the Xfinity Series race in a little bit, where we'll also have a goal of 50 likes there. I will get that stream uploaded as soon as I can. Again, I was without power for most of the morning today, so that's why I didn't have as much statistical access to give you guys for each of these drivers. I usually give you track facts for each one of them, how they run here, whether it's good, whether it's bad, and more in detail for qualifying. So if it seemed a little different this week, I very much apologize for that. Again, I didn't get power back until about an hour before the start of this stream, so I tried to cram as much as I could in that hour. But we will have the scrolling leaderboard at the top like we do for the Xfinity race and everything else. That was missing from this stream. We will have the, obviously, raw feed working from the start like we did not also have for practice, at least, in the first half of the stream. So, full stuff will be ready to go, and I'll get that stream posted very, very shortly. But again, the start time for it, 3:30 p.m. Eastern in an hour. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. And that wraps up KRC's Productions. Today's Goodyear 400 practice and qualifying. We did get to 50. Just now we hit 50, so greatly appreciate that, everybody. We got to our like goal as the stream finishes out. See you soon.